I've been buying rings like I'm Kobe.
I hit that Journeyman with my left hand on like woo.
Niggas underrate me like Jalen Brunson, but yo, I'm leaving with something.
Hold up, I ain't trying to stump, man, but the Yeezys jumped over the jump, man.
Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym? James Hart with the range, on me nigga way back.
Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot, get it.
My shooter turn you inside out. Fresh Prince jacket, boy, I cook them to the inside out.
What up, my fellow Knick fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. And yes, sir, make no mistake about it, we are here. Championship season on the way. Make no mistake about it. We are on the road to Battery Park, no doubt. There's going to be a lot of interesting game film to go over this season, as this is the first time the Knicks actually have a modern offense since I would say Mike D'Antoni has been the coach of the team. I guess I would say around the Raymond Felton, Amari Stoudemire days. Now we'll be doing film breakdowns on it as the season progresses, as this transition into the Mike Brown offense is going to be slow. But at some point, it's going to start clicking, and don't be surprised if the Knicks start looking like the Golden State Warriors. Mike Brown in 2023 had that Sacramento Kings offense booming as they finished as one of the best offenses in the league, and he did that with far lesser talent than what the Knicks have currently. And as far as today, we got some interesting topics. This is going to be very nuanced, as we're going to get into a bag, kind of humanize some of the players a little bit, guys like Julius, Randle, Barrett. Take a look at some of the sentiments they expressed while leaving the Knicks, especially Julius Randle. Very unfortunate, but the Knicks, man, the NBA is a cold business. They kind of left him hanging as far as his contract. He did get fucked over, make no mistake about it. But we'll get into that. And Mark Cuban still dirty macking from the grave. Nothing's worse than somebody dirty macking. Cuban is still upset about that whole Jalen Brunson situation. So we'll kind of break that down a little bit more as he's trying to get the Knicks caught up after this whole Steve Ballmer situation. Even though both instances are nothing in comparison. My man Steve Ballmer, after it's all said and done, we're looking at almost a $500 million kind of enterprise was ran to circumvent the cap to pay Kawhi. That's definitely some rich shit to spend over $500 million just to give Kawhi $100 million on top. The league is definitely going to have a different feel with this new billionaire class coming into NBA ownership, and they do not give a fuck about the rules. Also hear from former Knick player PJ Tucker as he discussed the life of a journeyman. The drip god himself gives great insight to sort of the same genetic makeup that Jalen Brunson's father has, that he kind of instilled in Brunson. That's why we see him have a multitude of layers to his game, especially on the offensive end. And that's why normally journeymen like that make the best head coaches. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, a lot of different nuances. Also how 3 Knick fans on Twitter got caught up in the Jontay Porter scandal. That whole gambling ring, they kind of, I don't want to say the boys out in Queens was running a scheme, but they had Jontay Porter owing them money. So we'll get into some of the details on that. And also, we're going to have a healthy discussion about what Amari Stoudemire had to say about Melo being on the team and the ball stopping. He didn't say anything controversial, but just him pointing out that fact about the kinds of points per game that certain star players score. So yeah, we're going to get into a lot of different bags. But first, I'm going to start off with where this team is truly at, because I think last season things were kind of looked over a little bit, especially with Tom Thibodeau, where he really had the Knicks a lot closer to the championship than people realize. The only difference between the current day champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and last season's Knicks is that the way they responded in game 2 after the first game was stolen at home. And the Indiana Pacers, they really revealed who they were in the finals, as they had SGA and Jalen Williams back against the wall in game 4, especially in the second half. The Pacers really had the finals in the bag. They were at home. Oklahoma City Thunder could not get nothing going offensively, and it looked like they were about to get blown out in that third quarter, about to go down 3-1. So numerous times in that series, the Thunder had to actually dig themselves out of a hole and respond. And that's why I say the Pacers, they really revealed who they were in the finals. Even Jaylen Brown, after winning the championship in 2024, has stated the toughest series for the Boston Celtics, ironically, he named the Pacers. So Thibs should get a lot more credit because last year's Knicks was a lot closer to making the finals and perhaps even competing to win the championship, like on a real level, as Karl-Anthony Towns would present a matchup problem for them in the middle. But at the end of the day, with Tom Thibodeau, the offense definitely peaked. We're talking about the Knicks could not pull away from the Detroit Pistons after spending so much money on their offense. With Karl-Anthony Towns, you got Brunson, OG, Bridges, and you couldn't pull away from the Pistons. They were not running a sophisticated offense. Cade had no skilled center that could handle the ball as a roller. Jalen Duren was making a lot of mistakes. He's not a three-point shooter, but yet throughout that whole series, the final score always came down to a 1 or 2 point difference. And that series alone could point to a lot of the reasons why Thibs got fired. The Knicks' lack of scoring in the third quarter in Game 2, the 14 points that they got in Game 4, and even in the closeout game, Brunson had to come rescue them in the fourth quarter as the Pistons were mounting a comeback and the Knicks offense kind of went ghost. But Thibs getting fired right away after the season ended, I didn't really agree with. Again, for the amount of firepower the Knicks had on their team, their Game 2 response to the Pacers just offensively was not there. There was no spark. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna still give Thibs credit because he had the team in position to at least take it to a Game 7. The Pacers bench alone per game were just dropping so many points. In Game 5 alone, their bench had 57 points, and that wasn't a loss. But every single game, their bench was dropping over 30 points a game, and they were doing the same thing in the finals. So I'm gonna still give Thibs his credit, but at the end of the day, in this new modern NBA, teams are playing a lot deeper than they used to. Out of the 4 remaining teams last season, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Thunder, the Minnesota Timberwolves, 3 out of those 4 teams had this in common. The Knicks were the only team where the coach kind of seemed reluctant to play guys off the bench. It's not until midway through the Pacers series we seen Shaman and others come through and actually impact the game. Unfortunately, the Tom Thibodeau experience has definitely peaked, but Thibs had the team in position. And unfortunately, a critical Game 1 slip-up and also them not responding in Game 2 against the Pacers eventually led things to go downhill as the Knicks just breathing room to make mistakes just kept getting even smaller and smaller and smaller. And that Eastern Conference Finals is very pivotal for the Knicks because it's going to get reflected even to this season. The fact that they're going to have more bench players coming in and having a better role on the team, getting up more three-point shots. Also, they added more size. Yabusele, you got Big Mo. Hopefully they play him more minutes. That's going to address a lot of the issues from that Pacers series where we see Pascal Siakam in transition throughout all those games. Kill it, man. He just used his size and dominated Deuce, Josh Hart, Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and even at times OG. So a lot of the holes that we had in that series is really the difference of the squad getting to an NBA championship. Even the Josh Hart conundrum was exposed as the Pacers completely had enough speed on the floor with Mathurin coming off the bench, Obi, that they shut down any transition points. So Josh Hart couldn't get those baskets where he's grabbing the rebound and just fully taking the ball up and taking it to the rack. The Pacers completely shut that down. And speaking of Josh Hart, this season is going to be very pivotal for him because players of his archetype, guys like Jrue Holiday, Marcus Smart, once they start hitting their early 30s, and the smart teams really pay attention to this, once they see these guys start showing a slight decrease in their defense, teams normally ship them out. I know Josh Hart's under a favorable contract, but this is a brand new coach coming in, and so far we've seen Mike Brown kind of use that starting position that Josh Hart had from last season as sort of a flex. Maybe in one game he wants to go small, or another game he might play 2 bigs, but he's going according to the matchups, and this is something I like that Mike Brown is doing. He's showing that he can make adjustments on the fly. And we'll see how Josh Hart responds by not having those guaranteed starting minutes night by night. He does have a very favorable contract, but hopefully he stays away from injuries. And because he's not really a shooter, normally players of his archetype have to keep up that defensive stronghold, or just judging from the trends of contending teams, they normally ship those guys away. But this will be an interesting season for a number of reasons, because sometimes a team like this is not really designed to last long. Not only do they have to take advantage of Jalen Brunson taking a pay cut as far as his contract, but also a number of guys that are on the books are going to be up for brand new contracts. We're talking about Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride. Just this variation of the Knicks was perhaps never meant to last long. And that's why this season is really a championship or bust. Not only they need certain late first round picks or just second round picks like Tyler Kolek, Paco Daddier, Deuce McBride, Big Mo. They need these guys to evolve and get more acclimated into their rotation due to the fact that their contracts are low. They desperately need some value. The same way when Josh Hart first came to the Knicks, for what they were paying him, he was under a value contract based off of his production, the way he was killing it with the rebounding, the defense, the passing. Same thing for Isaiah Hartenstein. That was another value contract. And that right there is the biggest blow to the Knicks, losing him, not having those bird rights. But those type of value contracts is what really helps the Knicks kind of stay below the second apron in this whole new NBA system, where you get penalized severely if you keep going over that apron year after year. You get locked up in what kind of trades you can make. You pretty much get stuck to where the Phoenix Suns were when they had Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant, where they're just fishing every offseason in the minimum player market. So having Mike Brown's a good thing, because you know young guys are going to get some burn, and that's why Thibs slowly had to get phased out of this whole equation. This is where the league is at today. You got to find some young gems at the end of the first round and second round. So adjustments have to be made to keep up with the times, and this is where I give Leon Rose a lot of credit. He's bounced back real well from some of the mistakes of his tenure. But the final thing I want to discuss right here, before we get into our topics, is the Karl-Anthony Towns situation. That's something that Leon Rose is going to have to continuously re-examine. Yes, it makes sense with him in a pick and roll with Brunson, but due to the fact that Brunson is already a liability on the defensive end, Karl-Anthony Towns does add a brand new complication to that situation. It leaves the Knicks sometimes playing a game of whack-a-mole. It's hard enough already to hide Brunson on that end of the floor, but Karl Towns sometimes he's aloof on defense. And if he's not clicking with the offense at a high enough level to make up for that, his whole stint in New York could be short-lived. And this is why I say this version of the Knicks was never really meant to be long-term. The league is moving very fast. The way the cap and the money is structured, the Celtics went from competing to a championship to almost a rebuild this current season. They got rid of KP, Drew Holiday, certain guys they were paying a decent salary to, because they don't want to keep hitting that luxury tax year after year as the penalties keep getting harsher and harsher. It's crazy to think all this is still a struggle with Brunson taking a pay cut. And that's the most important thing for Leon Rose. He has to get this team into a great position to compete in the finals while Brunson is on this contract, because it's definitely going to get a lot harder. And right now, the Knicks kind of have it on easy mode thanks to him, but it's still a struggle. I tell you what, Adam Silver is always talking about parity in the league, and they do want an NFL-style system while entering into streaming. They don't want the same teams over and over dominating and the same teams tanking year in, year out. So that's why the league now is structured very different. Again, I give Leon Rose a lot of credit, because this is almost two different NBAs from when he first came to New York, where the Knicks could go over the luxury tax and they would try to recruit guys, and multiple teams had big three players, like even the Brooklyn Nets with James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. Those days are over. Now it's more of a duo league alongside a lot of young assets, guys that are maybe 4-year college players coming out of the second round, late first round, gems that you find there, and you mix that in with guys with two-way contracts that are still talented enough to be in the league, but just need an opportunity. The Oklahoma City Thunder are a perfect example of this. They got enough first-round picks every single season that once some of their role players start coming up for contracts, they could go ahead and draft brand new guys. So this is a very interesting transition the league is going in, and ironically it's happening in a time where the Knicks are actually on the come up. So I just want to put this nuance that Leon Rose is kind of going through front and center and make more sense of why this version of the Knicks was never really meant to be long term. And speaking about the structural changes of the NBA when it comes to the money, a guy that went through it the most is Julius Randle. Right here, this is where I like to humanize a lot of the players, as Julius Randle came through NYC at a very unique time in his career as he was trying to find a home, and the Knicks were in the very beginning stages of a rebuild. But because of the pandemic that happened in 2020, the Knicks had a lot of off time, and Randle was able to revamp his game and kind of jumpstart the team into getting much further along into their rebuild by having a breakout season and making the playoffs. Let's not forget, Julius Randle has kicked off this whole version that we see in the Knicks today, where the expectations of the team is to make deep playoff runs. Now, Randle did have a bad season in between in 2021, and this is where a lot of the so-called hate comes from with Randle, but it's really a misunderstanding because the Knicks at that time did not have a point guard. Derrick Rose came into that year hurt, and Leon Rose took a gamble on Kemba Walker when his body was not right, and that gamble ended up failing and falling on into Julius, as he had to play the whole season as a point forward, knowing that the Knicks didn't really have the outside shooters to make that all work. Again, we're going to humanize Randle right here, as he did take a lot of the burden in his first couple of years in New York, even though the team was incomplete. RJ Barrett just got drafted. The Knicks didn't even have a lot of outside shooters like that. And in this digital age, a lot of media outlets, once they find something kind of gets the algorithm going, they latch on to that. And the Julius Randle hate is part of that. You got media members like Craig Carlton making lies on Julius Randle, saying that he went to the Knicks front office and requested a trade. So Randle has dealt with a lot while being at NYC, but eventually we got OG and Brunson, and right before he got hurt, the Knicks were in an incredible winning streak, playing beautiful basketball, beating the Miami Heat, beating the Denver Nuggets, and then Randle gets injured. And that's tough because that injury had a domino effect on a lot of different situations. Isaiah Hartenstein was able to start and uplift his own value in the open free agency market. And now we see him part of the Oklahoma City Thunder, being one of the main pieces contributing to their championship run. Again, the Knicks having Randle out there as a nice little value piece alongside guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart. All these things was part of Randle's value. But once the Knicks had to pay Josh Hart, then you lose Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency. That's where things began to get tricky. And when Randle got hurt after that match against Miami, come to find out he was going through it. The Knicks weren't quite negotiating with him on a brand new deal, and he fell into a funk. I can understand that. He was there when the Knicks were building from scratch. And now the writing is on the wall that that contract extension is not going to happen, and he did not have that much leverage out in the open market. You see, the tricky thing is with Randle, he got caught up in a certain whirlpool with players who had great production numbers, but they were still trying to prove their value. Jimmy Butler was caught up in the same whirlpool. Brandon Ingram. That's why Jimmy Butler had that whole back and forth with Pat Riley. He was going to get fucked over the same way Randle did. Rich Paul made comments about Brandon Ingram not necessarily having leverage out in the open market, even though he was a productive player. Jimmy Butler was the only one to survive being in that whirlpool. The Warriors bailed him out by trading for him, giving him a brand new contract, but Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle end up getting fucked. Matter of fact, in their contract renewals, even though the NBA has gone through a brand new television deal and the money is up, both Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle actually making the same amount of money or a little bit less, which is not typical of an NBA player putting up these type of stats. Even if they get a 7% increase, these guys got less money than Emmanuel Quickley did. Again, the NBA in the last 2 years has been in a transition. So guys like Emmanuel Quickley, they caught the end of it where they're able to secure a decent contract. He got 5 years, 175, and Julius only got 3 years for 100, being a two-time All-Star, making the All-NBA team twice, even though guys like Trae Young only made it once. And he actually has the responsibility of being the second leading scorer. something that Quickly has never had to do, but yet he was able to secure a much larger deal. Randle definitely put in work in NYC, and he deserves it. I'm not gonna lie, but once again, I'm humanizing these guys because this is tough. This will make anyone fall into a funk where they put in the work and all of a sudden they got left in the back burner. The league is going through a transition and you kind of have to take less money, especially when you count it with inflation. But you guys check out what he had to say.
Now it just feels very settled. I would say even this summer and leading up to the season is probably the happiest I've been in a really long time as far as just career, family, everything. You know how New York is, man. You're under a different microscope. So it's like, you're not just battling and trying to win. It seems like you're battling a million different things. At the end of that time, I was kind of at my darkest moment. Just miserable, like in a way where I just was not having fun going to work every single day. I would just be in there watching TV in a dark room. I didn't even want to show my face. I kind of just wanted to be left alone and, in hiding. Just very frustrated and angry and all those different emotions. It just wasn't a good place to be in. When I got traded, I'm like, damn, I can't believe this got taken from me, Randle said. It's like, you worked so hard to build something, and it was just snatched away. Once I got here, I was like it was a breath of fresh air. I've been loving it ever since, even when things weren't going as good. It was never about me as an individual. I think it was more about what my worth was, Randle said of the conversation around him. Am I a winning player? Do I contribute to winning? And that's really all I wanted to show. And when it was time for me to play my best basketball, that's when I was able to play best basketball. Because I was just able to focus on that. When I'm here, I feel like I don't have to be perfect every single day. And that just allows me to have that easiness and be comfortable to be like, all right, I'm not perfect every single day, but I'm trying my best. And people aren't judging me just because you have one bad moment or two bad moments.
And playing in a city where the media really trolls the Knicks fan base instead of actually covering the team. It's very ironic because no other team actually faces this, where the media actually gets a lot of clicks, they get a lot of views based off of trolling a fan base. ESPN plays into this a lot, especially with Stephen A. Smith putting on that stupid fucking character where he's a stressed out fan. But Randle definitely has put in the work. Notice how he mentioned his worth. Listen, any one of us would be stressed the fuck out if we were owed a pay bump and we put in the grind and all of a sudden we get put in a situation where we got to take a pay cut. Again, the NBA business is a cold game. It's truly a cold game out here. Leon Rose lost a few of his value contracts. Guys like Josh Hart, his new deal kicked in. And most importantly, we didn't have the bird rights to Isaiah Hartenstein. And because of the Randle injury, he was able to prove his value and land a large contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And all that right there caused a reevaluation of the Knicks actually having Randle on the team now, with him in an upcoming contract. See, last season, there was a slow conditioning with all of us Knicks fans. When we first seen the difference between the squad when Randle was there versus when Cat was there, there was a lot less, I would say, defensive attitude. The Knicks, I'm going to keep it a blunt right here, they looked a lot softer. The defense wasn't there. The attitude wasn't there. There was no Jontay. There was no Randle. The team looked a bit more finesse instead of the old East Coast gritty bump and grind basketball that we all love. Even Triple OG Miami Heat legend Udonis Haslem acknowledged it.
So you need the Hart.
You right about that?
Skill set, Cat sit at the top of the list. Hart, he might be in the middle. And that's not a knock on him. It's not a knock on him. Everybody don't have to be the tough guy. Everybody don't got to be the lightning in the bottle guy. That just might not be his thing.
That's not his role. Yeah, that's not his thing.
But you lost a lot of toughness when you lost Hartenstein to OKC, when you lost Randle in the trade, and when you lost DiVincenzo. You told what DiVincenzo told that Brunson the other day.
What? Did you see that?
I ain't that motherfucker. I ain't the one. If it was you, this is what you get, or whatever you said to him, like that. So listen, that matters, dog. Trust me, a motherfucker like that, DiVincenzo, I don't even know the motherfucker. 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Come on with me. I take it.
To me, it was a unique spot because if you say he won the trade, and he easily could have, I mean, it's always going to be fun to see.
Who knows what that draft pick they got?
I know, but I guess what I'm saying is like he had to do it financially because Cat had all those, like on the books, they're going to get killed financially. So he had to make those kind of moves too now. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how he did that.
Listen, Killer, sound good, but if the cat was guaranteed to take them to the championship, you pay that tab, you get
Oh,
your ring.
100%, 100%.
So clearly, the financial moves was based off.
I'm saying
we ain't winning with this.
I'm saying you're playing chess now.
We ain't winning with this.
You're playing chess now.
That's what he said. We ain't winning with this.
Yeah, you said it
Nah,
too.
I would say the Knicks weren't winning without Isaiah Hartenstein being there. They needed Hartenstein. That was a great value for what they had him for. And as you can see, he made a difference with the Thunder. The Thunder really addressed a lot of the issues that they had from last season. They got Alex Caruso, another defender out in the wing, in which they got killed by Kyrie Irving in that Western Conference Finals, I believe. And they struggled with the rebounding, and that's why they went and grabbed Hartenstein. And when you correlate it with the Knicks, the issues from the Pacers series was athleticism and depth at the bench. Now, because the way the cap is structured right now and how much the Knicks are paying Karl-Anthony Towns, it leaves very little wiggle room. They're gonna have to land on players in the draft. That's why it's important that Big Mo gets playing time this season. So does Tyler Kolek, Dadier, and others.
I don't know about the rest of the team, but you got at least 3 on that squad that gonna let their nuts hang.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Edwards ain't no motherfucking dog. I mean, ain't no punk. He a dog.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo is a dog, and Randle is a dog. That shit matters in the
Rudy,
playoffs.
coach, I like
That shit matters.
And Randle kicked LeBron's ass last year in the playoffs. Make no mistake about that. He fucking dominated LeBron. Like, that shit wasn't even close. Yo, Randle should definitely get more respect from a lot of the Knicks fan base. I don't know what's up with the fucking trolling. It's unbelievable.
It's in the finals.
I think I actually hear and I'm listening to what he says, and a lot of it is true.
Okay, yeah.
I think Cat going there plays better off of Brunson. Brunson's a ball dominant guy. Julius Randle's a ball dominant guy. Cat's more of a catch and shoot three, unfortunately. They're trying to put him in that post a little bit. So I think the Knicks got better. I'm with him. I don't think it pushed them, but I think, Brunson and Julius Randle, when they played their best basketball, Julius Randle was actually hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Julius Randle's a great talent. Brunson's obviously a great talent. Both ball dominant guys. I think Brunson and Cat can play off each other a lot better than Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson can.
They could definitely play off each other a lot better, but now it leaves the Knicks in this whack-a-mole situation on defense. And you've seen it happen a lot last year in the Pacers series. The athleticism, how deep the Pacers roster was, that shit ended up beating up the Knicks, because you could even see it in the fourth quarter of Game 6. The way the Pacers just kind of ran out in transition, the Knicks defenders they were gassed. So we see why the Tom Thibodeau experience peaked. This Knicks offense has to be clicking on a whole nother level to make up for a lot of their defensive inefficiencies.
Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson can.
Man,
but
he talking.
It's the truth.
He talking that X's and O's. When you get in a 7-game series in the playoffs, X and O.
Hold on. Big, can I start off by saying I actually listened to what he said? I think he's right.
Damn, Steve Kerr. If you do this and move that around and this all that.
So hold on. Okay, man. let me hit you one back. You don't think that Cat and Brunson are better paired up than Julius Randle and Brunson?
I do. Okay,
I
think they're better paired up.
Yeah, we can both be right.
Yeah, okay,
we can
but
both
at
be
the
right.
end of the day, all the better pair. I don't give a about the better pair. That shit gonna win. Is that shit get it done?
I agree with you though. I don't think.
Facts. In Game 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals, they needed to get it done right then and there. And I believe that's where Thibs kind of reached a peak with Leon Rose. The Knicks had to get it done in Game 2 against the Pacers. They stole Game 1. They had to get it done in Game 2 offensively, and the offense looked bleak. That's the fucking difference between the Thunder in the finals. J-Dub and SGA responded. They responded. They blew those motherfuckers out. There's been too many questions for the amount of money the Knicks spent to have all that offensive firepower, to have those type of fucking results in Game 2. We got punched in the face in Game 1, and offensively, we were fucking crickets in Game 2. So a lot of questions have to be answered right there. So Udonis Haslem asking the question, can they fucking get it done, is 100% on point.
I think it either moves it over. I just think
once again,
this is what we do all
taking
the time.
away from the trade, missing Hartenstein is gonna hurt them.
bro, right when you said it, they removed all the element of glue from the scenarios.
Yes.
Hartenstein,
Yes.
DiVincenzo,
Yes.
like they just the glues.
Those are the
I'm
guys,
with you.
bro. Let me tell you something.
And
Those are the
believe me,
guys that might not get the praise.
Hey, if anyone values those type of guys,
Exactly.
it's me and
Exactly.
you.
Those are the guys that might not get the praise, but those are the guys that you can't win without.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro. Those guys, you need those guys in your locker room. And I know a lot of the times you might get frustrated with Julius Randle on offense and shit like that, but I bet that got Hart.
No, he a dog. I'm just telling you, like.
And low-key, quiet as kept, Randle would have probably fit better in the Mike Brown offense because his face-up game, he doesn't mind dribbling and passing guys open. That's not really Karl-Anthony Towns' thing. Karl-Anthony Towns will just be a big body, and he'll make the pass off of just holding the ball and just being a threat as a three-point shooter. But Randle could actually, even though we don't like seeing him dribble too much, but he's much more comfortable just penetrating with the face-up game and dishing the ball out.
Again, I'm in the same. I actually listen to it. I think you're right on a lot of shit. I'm just saying, to me, when they were playing their best basketball, it was with space with Jalen Brunson. It doesn't mean that they're not, like, I hate that when they say, oh, he sucks. No, they're just not a good, like, to me, they're both ball dominant people. Like,
Yes.
Julius Randle is going to dribble it downhill and play.
agree.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how he plays.
I agree.
Once teams playing for Jalen, who else is the playmaker?
That's another good take.
So
because Julius Randle was an elite playmaker too. So that's a great take.
So
and we can all be right.
He's going to carry a ton of load throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to have to still be fresh come playoff time if I want to make
That's
it
the
right.
trick.
So
that's the trick.
Yeah, Julius' playmaking ability is really underrated. And you've seen everything come together last year in that playoff series against the Lakers. Randle was assisting like crazy. He was just killing the Lakers all over. He was way efficient with the scoring, his passing ability, his decision-making. A lot of media members looked at Randle very, very different after that playoff series, and it's definitely long overdue. But again, this business is a cold game. It is a cold game. Even RJ Barrett went through tough times with the Knicks trading him away, and at the same time, he was dealing with a family member being sick. I believe it was his brother. And the business is always going to be the business. And when things peak and you have the ambitions of Leon Rose to get to the NBA Finals, you're going to have to move on. RJ, compared to some of the top-level talents in his draft classes, is probably going to finish with a better career than Ja Morant, Zion Williams. I mean, it's just pretty much him, Darius Garland, Tyler Hero. They're making a run for who's going to have the best career within their class. But in this media landscape, these guys have the ability to let their thoughts out, as RJ Barrett threw some subtle shots at the Knicks and the kind of system that they ran during his time in New York.
Hey RJ, when you mentioned being excited, like walking in here today and saying, like looking at the squad, like we got a squad, you also said, and we do it the right way. And I was just curious what you meant by that, like what doing it the right way for this team is.
We don't have egos over here. Everybody wants to win, and that's coming from me, who's probably one of the most confident guys you've ever met in your life. We have players that are here with a good mindset of coming into to help the team win, and it's not just about any single individual player. I think that's what you need. So that way we can have conversations with each other. We can talk to each other like, yo, you're messing up right there, and it's no hard feelings, We need that commitment to team excellence. Passing the ball is a huge thing. When I've been on teams where the ball doesn't move and then nothing happens after that. Nobody cares. And now everybody's just every man for themselves. So it's great to be on a team where, we move the ball and we play defense, and we care about each other, honestly. We're all friends, we all hang out, everything's cool, things are just the way the Raptors do things is the right way, and I think that's why, we'll have some success.
I like how RJ said, I've been on teams. You only been on one other team. But which version of the Knicks is he talking about? He's talking about the David Fizdale Knicks, where he had Marcus Morris acting like he was Allen Iverson out there? Or is he talking about when he was playing with Randle and Brunson? Because he was the third option. And for what the Knicks needed him to do, which is catch and shoot threes, and when he takes the ball to the rack to actually fully finish, his vertical wasn't necessarily up there like that. As we can see the difference when OG came to the team, his finishing ability was night and day. But this wasn't RJ's first mention of the ball not necessarily moving while on the Knicks. Check out what he had to say when he first showed up in Toronto.
I've always been a guy that's been good in transition, so that always helps. But I cut more here just because I know I have a chance to get the ball, and even when I don't get it, I'm not upset about it because I know I'm getting it on the next one. If you cut all the time and you never get the ball, you're probably not going to want to cut.
Sometimes things are really based off of circumstance. The Knicks didn't necessarily have the three-point shooters out in the wing. Randle, RJ, and Brunson, they all occupied the paint. They're all paint scorers. So the spacing, it was kind of clunky, the offense at the end of the day. And we've seen it play out in that series against the Miami Heat with the team in the closeout game not getting any points from their starters. I believe Brunson was the only one that was really scoring. But the peak moment with RJ Barrett and the Knicks happened in the last few games before the trade. They went up against the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe it was a play-in game in which the Bucks almost hit the NBA record for just offensive efficiency against a team in a single game. But that team had a lot of guys with good size on them. Same thing for the matchup against the Orlando Magic. Their team doesn't run a sophisticated offense, but they do have a lot of players that have good size and could defend multiple positions. And RJ really struggled against that team once again. And mainly this matchup right here is what pretty much put the nail in the coffin when they went up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is all in December. Another team that has a lot of guys that play with speed and strength. They don't have the size, but they play with speed and strength. And RJ, once again, struggled. A lot of the things that the Knicks needed, they couldn't space the floor. And it looked like the team really peaked right then and there. The spacing is fucked up between Randle, RJ, and Brunson. They all love attacking the paint. And when they play against all those teams, those deficiencies really got exposed. So good thing for both parties. They went their separate ways and things really worked out for the best. RJ Barrett still having a solid career out there in Toronto. And the Knicks added the spacing and shooting that they need. But at the end of the day, RJ Barrett's going to have a solid pro career for well over a decade. He's lined up for it. And the naysayers are going to have a difficult time when they reevaluate who should have went number 1, 2, and 3 with a lot of the health situations that Ja Morant and Zion Williams are having. And also those players are tough to build around. They may have higher ceilings than RJ, but they're tougher to build around. And RJ has definitely been more consistent. So who knows how his career is going to pan out, but it wouldn't shock me if he was a solid contributor to a championship team, sort of like the way Andre Iguodala contributed to the Golden State Warriors. So the Knicks' biggest secret hater, Mark Cuban, is still dirty Macking from the grave even after selling his NBA team. The whole Jalen Brunson exit from Dallas has left a sour taste in Cuban's mouth, and it really stems from the Porzingis trade with the Knicks. And Cuban wasn't happy with the way Porzingis arrived in Dallas, not necessarily being at a good timetable within his rehab. He's previously made comments about KP's condition when his medical staff first took a look at him. And throughout this whole Steve Ballmer saga with the cap circumvention, Mark Cuban has made himself very available as he sat down for an hour-long discussion with Pablo Torre, but come to find out their conversation was a lot longer as they spoke for 3 hours.
So you should know here that I talked to Mark Cuban for 3 hours. A meandering and often circular, 2 hours and about 45 minutes, actually. Entirely about this subject, which is both incredible and enjoyable, almost perversely, but also undoubtedly my fault as the interviewer. And so this conversation, to be very clear, as all our conversations are, has been cut down for length and clarity. Because at one point, in fact, Mark Cuban and I were so immersed in said conversation that his phone battery died mid-sentence and his connection completely dropped out, which made us worried for obvious reasons.
Now that's interesting. A 3-hour conversation about cap circumvention, and it would be hard to believe that he didn't mention Jalen Brunson and the Knicks not once. But as soon as Pablo Torre dropped this interview, he proceeded to go to another media outlet and hinted that the Knicks signing of Jalen Brunson could be his next story. The dirty Macking from Mark Cuban continues.
Is there something in there with Jalen Brunson?
Well, look, how he arrived at the Knicks, this is where I will have to defer to the reporting I may or may not do on this. Certainly was interesting, right? Like, okay, that's a pretty good deal for the Knicks. Has some whatever. Anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself in terms of
That's
that.
a tease,
What
though.
else?
That's a tease.
It's a bit of a tease.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm showing a little ankle with you. I always show a little bit more ankle than I should with you.
Now, this is interesting because Mark Cuban has shown up in Jalen Brunson's podcast and put a poker face, acting like everything was all good when talking about his transition into joining the Knicks. This interview happened in the summer of 2024. And ironically, a few months later in October 2024, come to find out, the NBA had finally released paperwork showing that Mark Cuban had filed tampering charges against the Knicks, and they ended up losing a 2025 second-round pick. Once again, Mark Cuban dirty macking from the grave, but right here, pay attention to a few months earlier before we found out that he filed these charges, how he held up a nice poker face when talking about the situation with Jalen Brunson.
And then I think Mark and I, we run separate podcasts. Like he says some stuff, I said some stuff. All right, and then we decided to actually have a conversation together, work stuff out, and then boom, here we are. So
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. No hard feelings, behind both of us. I don't hold grudges or anything. There's no grudge to hold, right? JB and I have always gotten along, right? I don't think, and so I'm happy for him. It didn't work out the way I thought it would. I mean, you guys made the conference finals, so I think it worked out pretty well.
No, it didn't work out for Mark Cuban pretty well. Come on, JB, you know that. Because the play was he was leveraging that no one had the cap space to give you the deal that you wanted. You see, the Knicks recently signed a number of players. They had the Derrick Rose contract. They had the Nerlens Noel contract. Same thing for Alec Burks. But in that 2021 draft, I believe it was that year, this is where Leon Rose should get a lot of credit. The fact that he moved those contracts away with Detroit, Charlotte, and I believe the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Knicks have great relationship with those teams, but they moved those contracts around. And when they freed up that money, that's when Mark Cuban realized he fucked up and he was going to lose you. Again, during that draft night, the Knicks made 3 separate moves to free up this money.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, like I remember we all went.
You guys made the finals. The finals.
Yeah, the finals this year. Yeah, I mean, but I remember
it worked out great for both parties.
Yeah, I mean,
it worked out great.
But I literally remember we were after one of the games in Utah. A bunch of us was walking back. Allie was there, and we were talking and everything. I thought, okay, we're gonna figure this out, and we'll make all this happen. And so to me, that's that's kind of where. I don't know. I thought it would work out. I honestly thought it would work out. I really, really did. But it didn't, and that's okay. All's well that ends well. I'm happy for you, the King of New York, and I'm happy for us. It is what it is. That's the NBA.
That's cap. That's cap. He's not happy for them because, see, Cuban was trying to find a wingman for Luka. The KP experience did not work out. That was strike one. And he came from the Knicks. His health was not what Cuban thought it was. So, in a way, he felt like he got finessed by the Knicks right there. And then strike two was when he actually drafted a nice wingman to put alongside Luka, and he lost him to the Knicks.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't like about the whole situation was when Mark said, when the parents got involved, that's when things got messy.
Exactly. Cuban was mad about it from the jump. Why would his parents not get involved? That's his family, man, of course. But at the end of the day, I'm going to add another strike with Cuban against the Knicks is when Julius Randle, Worldwide West, Allen Houston, and a couple of Knicks front office people showed up in Dallas when they were in that playoff series against the Utah Jazz. That rubbed Cuban the wrong way. But again, a few months later after this interview, it was found out that the Mavericks filed tampering charges against the Knicks. Dallas did not hide their frustrations about Brunson getting away. It was well known. It's all over the documentation. Matter of fact, I'll put the link in the description below. But Cuban is no stranger to the cap circumvention because the situation with him and Steve Ballmer has happened before with DeAndre Jordan, where he made the agreement to go to the Mavericks in free agency, but then reneged, had hooked him up with a car company to get a sponsorship. But pay attention right here, as Mark Cuban has always been nonchalant when addressing the cap circumvention that was done against him with Steve Ballmer.
Now, the sports fans among us, and I know there's a bunch here, know that you had kind of a tough night last night with So this week on Shark Tank.
Without rehashing all the details of the DeAndre Jordan commitment.
Oh, you had to say his name, okay.
From a leadership standpoint, when you have a setback, when you have a tough day, what do you say to your people? What do you say to the fans?
The conversations we've had today, that it's over. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. You think for a second, is there anything I can change? You think for another second, what have I learned so I can do it differently next time? And then you move forward and say, what are our options? You know, I'm a big believer you have to re-earn your business every single day.
Now, the NBA did their own investigation into that situation. There was nothing necessarily foul by the Dallas Mavericks. And Cuban, even today with the cap circumvention with Kawhi Leonard, has gone out of his way to defend Steve Ballmer. The energy has been quite different with the Clippers owner, who really has enough money to buy half of the NBA teams in the league. But just like a cockroach, a dirty Mac is never dead. As Cuban finds the opportunity to tie the Knicks and the Brunson situation into the whole Kawhi cap circumvention fiasco.
Mavericks circumvent the salary cap with Dirk Nowitzki in 2014.
No.
Very good. Do you think the Knicks may have circumvented the cap in taking Jalen Brunson from your Mavericks?
I don't know.
A different answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I just think there was a lot of play there.
Yeah. Do you think the Knicks at the end here should be worried about an upcoming episode of Mark Cuban Finds Out?
You know, that's behind me. You know, more power to JB, more power to everything. Was I happy that they only got dinged for a second-round pick? No. No, it should have been.
I thought it was no fucking hard feelings, you fucking dirty Mac. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
No, it should have been far worse, but is what it is.
And now, once again, look at the difference in his response when they mention Steve Ballmer. It's almost like he dick rides Ballmer because, you know, it's really because of his wealth level. He's scared of him in a way.
Do you remain, Mark Cuban, at the end here, Team Ballmer?
Yes.
We get it, Cuban. He's good for business. We even see Adam Silver. He's scared of Ballmer. The way he's been responding to some of these initial questions about their cap circumvention, he makes it seem like the burden of proof is overwhelming and it's really on the NBA. It is what it is. These guys are all competitors, the NBA owners. Even though they do work together, there are definitely some rifts. But when it comes to Steve Ballmer, because his pockets are so deep and he's been good for NBA business, a lot of these guys like Mark Cuban, they stay quiet when it comes to him. But they go all out when it comes to James Dolan, fucking filing tampering charges. Once again, Dirty Max, there's never enough raid for these fucking roaches. Now right here is going to be a healthy discussion on the kind of points per game some top level scorers are having and the impact on the team. As Amari Stoudemire did make comments about Melo coming to the Knicks and kind of being a ball stopper, but he didn't really say anything controversial. It was pretty much well known. It's amazing how nowadays you tell the truth and it's considered controversial. But first, let's listen to Stat's original statement.
With Coach D'Antoni, I had him down in Houston, so I know the vibes with D'Antoni. And then later on in February, Carmelo Anthony joined that group. Why do you feel? What's your thoughts in hindsight? Why that team didn't quite get over the hump? Because you guys had a hell of a lot of talent and were highly touted. Why do you think that particular group didn't get over the hump?
Well, when I first got to New York, I wanted to go to a place. First of all, I was raised in New York, right? I moved to New York in the 3rd grade. I was there until high school, basically. So I was familiar with New York, but then also D'Antoni was there. And so I felt like it was a great reunite situation to go to New York. And I knew D'Antoni would let me play my game, right? A lot of people at that time thought I was only a pick and roll guy and I only could do these things. And I'm like, that's far from the truth. So when I got to New York, I knew D'Antoni would allow me to play my full game. And that's what I was able to accomplish that first half of that season. And I was playing team basketball. I was getting everybody involved with Wilson Chandler, Raymond Felton, Gallinari. All these guys were playing, having career years. And then once we brought in another superstar like Carmelo, he requires a lot of attention. So when Melo comes to our team, the ball is not moving as much because Melo requires a lot of attention. He's one of the offensive greats. So when he gets to basketball, he's looking to score. And so a lot of the cohesiveness somewhat faded away during that time. And then I also started suffering some injuries year 2, year 3, battling back and forth. And that's kind of how things panned out throughout that time in New York. We tried our best. We gave it all we got, but we just couldn't get over the hump.
So stat right there just stating facts. They didn't say anything crazy. And now fast forward to today's Knicks. We're seeing them implement a new style of offense under Mike Brown, where Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, they could still get their points, but it's going to be a lot different. And so far into the season, we're seeing the Knicks get up a lot more three-point shots, but it's not necessarily coming from Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. It's coming from the rest of the players. As the NBA enters into a new era, some people might say it's a parity era, whatever they want to call it. It's more of a team game. The NBA isn't really doing anything new under the sun. It's kind of rotating right back to the era it was in the 80s, where offensive efficiency was through the roof and teams were moving the ball around nonstop. Players like Melo, in a way, or any player in the NBA, they can only be a product of their era. And for Carmelo Anthony, he was coming into the league off an era where the Michael Jordan influence was so strong that the play style was really centered around a scoring wing who normally took volume shots and pretty much carried the load, as the final scores in some of these games were like 75 to 78. And as Melo continued on into his career, entering the mid 2010s, the NBA evolved, and his same 25 plus points per game did not have the same meaning. And this is where we're going to have a very nuanced, healthy discussion, as Richard Jefferson, even though he's a Knicks hater, he brought up some great points into historical star player averages, points per game from era to era. And what does it really mean? How did it affect winning? Having high scoring averages for Melo meant something different in 2004 versus 2014. The overall impact based on how you got that 25 plus points per game really started to show. But again, if you're a Knicks fan, we normally don't fuck with Richard Jefferson, but he brought up some great points right here to kind of wheel in this conversation and get away from the whole, oh, Melo killed the ball movement, because it's not about that. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I think it's an observation, not a criticism. I think it's true, right? Like, that is like Carmelo was a playoff player in Denver. He's been to the playoffs. It's not like his scoring translates to wins. Now, the level of wins and how far they can go is one thing, but you do have to change the style of flow, right? Like, same with Luka, same with certain guys that are so good, and Carmelo's one of them. You have to change the flow. Now, in D'Antoni's system at the time, and the Knicks were cooking, they were like, can't we get something to add to the flow versus bringing in someone that is a flow changer?
Now, this exact point, the Knicks are actually going through the opposite this season. Brunson with Tom Thibodeau was cooking, but he mainly was on ball most of the time. Now with Mike Brown, they're going back to the Mike D'Antoni style. And unlike Carmelo Anthony, Jalen Brunson is going to adjust to this. This is where we're going to get a better understanding and see him more as an all-level scorer. He's been off ball before when he played alongside Luka. The real person to be on the lookout for of how he adjusts is Karl-Anthony Towns. But Brunson, after a month or two, he's still going to get his numbers. And that right there was the issue with Carmelo Anthony. Outside of being on ball all the time and being that ball stopper, he could not get into the opposite flow of what Mike Brown is trying to do this season, where we see even role players are getting way more opportunity to take shots and contribute. And guys like Kolick, Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Yabusele, Josh Hart, they're all going to get into rhythm based off of this flow.
Right? Rightfully so. Carmelo is that dude. So it wasn't, I don't think that that's a knock. I think that's an observation, right? I've seen Carmelo in the runs, right? So LA runs, Carmelo, like they're all cracking jokes about like who was going to shoot the last shot. And everybody was kind of like, it was like after the game. And like, they was like, yeah, some people, and then like 2-3 people looked at him, like kind of side-eyeing, and he just, goddamn right, I'm gonna shoot every fucking time, right? Like his mindset, even in the LA runs, were of like, I'm that dude, it's recognized. But for Amari, who played with Steve Nash, who played in the 7 seconds or less Suns, that played in that motion, the ball just keeps going, that's a very, very different thing. So I don't view that as a criticism.
No, it's not criticism. I think it's a fact. I mean, it is a fact. Playing with Alvin Gentry, who is obviously playing with Amari and Steve Nash and those teams, we weren't 7 seconds or less, maybe 10, but like the ball popping and flowing in specific spaces, and also the emphasis a little bit earlier on like threes, free throws, and layups. So think about D'Antoni, think about James Harden. James Harden is a D'Antoni guy. They are tried and true, right? Same with.
And that's one thing I give James Harden credit for. He did switch up his game, and it allowed other players to eat.
With Daryl Morey, they are efficiency. Carmelo's like, I'm just better than you and can score 50. Fuck all this plays. I don't want to play fast. Give me the ball. Y'all go over there. When I get double teamed, then you might get the rock. But Carmelo's success is because of his skill set that allowed him to be anywhere and score anywhere on the floor. We didn't really have a lot of post plays when I was with Alvin. It was more screen and roll, and then our read is looking at everyone. So like from the top down, and then where Carmelo's like,
give me the ball,
rock, and then you stand. So your role is more of a.
It's more of an early 2000s player. That's what happened. The game evolved, and Melo stayed in the early 2000s.
You don't get as many offensive touches, but on that team, because Amari he's very, very good on the block, but he's way better at screening and rolling. That creates so much gravity, dropping the defense down, and now you get wide open jumpers.
That right there, Channing Frye, is describing Karl Anthony Towns' role this season. He's going to have to get more into that Isaiah Hartenstein bag where he's just screening, re-screening, rolling hard, knowing when to take the three, and especially attacking defenders on those closeouts.
Melo, you like, well, I might not see this for about a quarter or two, so then I just got to be ready.
And that's something right there. Also, LeBron James, when he comes back with the Lakers, with the way Austin Reeves is cooking, LeBron is going to have to adjust his game. Because low-key, LeBron is another player. He's so gifted that he could still play in that early 2000s flow where he's on ball 24/7 and everyone kind of has to stand around and guess when they're going to get the ball. He's a different level talent, but he's not that far off from being that early 2000s player. But once again, all these guys are really products of their era.
And you guys both know this. Then because of a player's greatness and the way he plays, he is judged. Can he turn that into wins? Championships. That's it. Can Kobe go be that? That's why those 2 championships after Shaq left. Can he go be that guy and score all the points? Jordan did it. So for Carmelo, it was, I think, the one thing that he's a winner from the national championship, the Olympics. You know that. But did his style of play lead to championship and championship basketball? It didn't. Now there was draft picks with the Knicks. There was all these things, but ultimately.
But we also got to point to the fact that there were opportunities still. Why was Melo losing to a young Paul George in that 2013 playoffs? It made no sense. Melo's supposed to be on a higher tier at that point. The storyline really was Melo was going to meet LeBron in those Eastern Conference Finals. So losing to a young Paul George 4-2, when guys like Tyson Chandler have been on record stating that they were not even prepared for game 1, it leaves you to wonder, these guys are leaving a lot of crumbs on the table.
You have to prove that your style of dominance can translate to championship.
Which is hard.
Which is hard to do, right? Even LeBron doesn't play that way. Think about how many players played like Kevin Durant, but even Kevin Durant was a souped up version, and he had better teams around him than Carmelo did.
He definitely did, but the only thing I would say about Kevin Durant is that when he went to Golden State, the shit was a perfect fit. He didn't have to get stuck in that hero ball black hole. Because if you look at it, every time he did, the results were never the same. And once he went to Golden State, it was like watching the final piece of the puzzle get put in, and it was a fucking masterpiece. Ever since then, it's not the same. Durant out in Phoenix, they didn't have a point guard. He's fallen too much in love with the isolation, and he has not kept up his body as far as being into the gym to be that type of player as he ages. And that's really what happened to Melo too. As his legs started to give away, he didn't have the same lift. He started missing wide open mid-range jumpers. That was happening in his last few years in New York. It happened a lot in OKC and especially in Houston.
Right? So it's hard to compare those scores and that style of give me the ball, I'm going to lead us.
Let me ask you a further question. SGA.
Very different.
No.
Is it?
No, it's not. No.
Is it?
No. No, I'm with you.
Is it?
He's like MJ.
Yes, it is.
But
he plays. So playing from the post, right? Playing from the post is a lot different than playing from the top of the key, because when people when teams help at the boxes and elbows, he's making those shots to Chet, but he's also, number one, getting to the free throw line. He's playing faster.
He's scoring that thing.
He's scoring
that thing,
and
and
he's getting to the free throw line.
It doesn't matter.
Wait.
And I'm also going to say this. He's won. So obviously.
And most importantly, SGA's playmaking. He got way better at that. Even though sometimes his teammates are missing wide open threes like Lou Dort, he's still dishing it out to them anyway. And unlike previous stars, a lot of the guys of this era, they can play defense. Make no mistake about it, SGA, with his back against the wall, in Game 4 of the NBA Finals, about to go down 3-1 against the Pacers, nothing was going for him offensively in that third quarter, and he turned up his defense. That's the fucking difference. A lot of the guys in this era are 6'8", 6'7", and they're not afraid to get dirty on the defensive end.
His shit works.
No,
it's different.
But the point is, you have to prove that your style of play can win, and it's also determined by the players that you have around them. I would say that guys like Shea, Kevin Durant, they have had better teams historically than Carmelo has, right? But that still falls on, as we've been in locker rooms with Bron and Dirk, the best players know this is all on me. Win and lose, everyone's going to look on me.
Facts, at some point it's going to have to fall on the star. And Melo had a better team than the Indiana Pacers going into that series against Paul George. The Knicks were the better team. They were even the favorites.
So it's my job to prove that my style of play can win, right? And that's the part. Shea, Carmelo, exact same. They might have Kobe, Carmelo, exact same mindset style of player. They have to prove that they're 30 a night, they're 29 a night, leads to wins. Shea did it. Shea was leading the league in scoring, like all the things. Like, that's hard to do as a guard. Multiple years at that efficiency level, right? Don't tell me about free throws. Carmelo was getting free throws. Everybody was. Kobe getting free throws. Shea proved that his 30 a game is a championship 30.
And it was mostly mid-range too. We got to factor that in. It's mostly mid-range. It's very ironic they keep saying it's a three-point era, but then we watch Jokic and SGA win championships off the mid-range. And even Jimmy Butler got to 2 NBA finals during this so-called three-point era.
There's been, 4 guys in the last 30 years that have done that? I can average 30 in the season and go win a championship, win an MVP? That shit is different, bro, NBA history. Like, how many people have averaged 30 and won a championship?
That's a good fucking question. Average 30 and won a championship. It's going to be like off the top, Kareem, Jordan, SGA. Sheesh. That list is fucking small. But one thing I got to say, Jalen Brunson, his level of scoring is equating to wins, even when Thibs had him on ball. That is one thing that's very noticeable versus, I would say, the Melo era of the Knicks. Brunson getting into his spots and cooking is really leading the Knicks to get consistently into the second round of the playoffs. Brunson already has victories over Joel Embiid with the injury-riddled Knicks. He's beaten the Cavs. He's beaten the Celtics. And this is only a few years off from the Knicks having that team that went up against Miami, in which they had virtually no shooters.
MJ, was he the last one? I don't know if Bron hit 30. I don't know if Kobe was averaging 30 during those 2 seasons that they won after Shaq. He might have been 28.
I think all 3 of those
Kobe
were like,
was 30.
3 was...
Well, I know. I'm saying I know he hit 30, but did he average 30 the season that they won those 2 championships?
I would say yes.
I would say no.
I think it was 20.
I would say no.
28.
30's a heavy number.
I think 3 of those were Jordan.
That's what I'm saying. 30 in a championship, bro?
No.
That's different world.
27.
That's what I'm saying.
26.8 and 27.
That's why I said Michael Jordan, Rick Barry, Kareem. Shea's in that fucking class. Now, Michael Jordan did it a bunch of times. He did it a bunch of times. That's why we look at him like the GOAT.
Right.
Now, we've seen Kobe and Jordan and plenty of other legends make comments about guys averaging too many points per game. Charles Barkley said Luka at a time when he was playing for the Mavericks, he was averaging like almost 36. And he said, hey, if he wants to win a championship, that shit has to drop and get his teammates involved. Same thing for Kobe. When James Harden was having his MVP seasons, there was a point where even Kobe said, hey, that's great for the regular season, but if he wants to win a championship, his points per game has to drop. You can't average 36 points per game and expect to get to the finals. It's just not happening. That's because When you get to that championship level, the NBA is a team game. Of course, you do need a superstar, but it's more of a team game. Once you start getting into that second round, all the way up into the finals, it's always going to be a team game. And that's where Thibs started hitting the wall, especially against the Pacers, because they had so many guys coming off the bench and contributing that it was virtually impossible for all their starters to keep up with a Pacers bench that's dropping 35 points a game. Once again, in game 5, the Pacers had 52 points off the bench, and the Knicks ended up winning. So that's a lot of energy and effort by the Knicks starters just to maintain. Not even to thrive, just to fucking maintain.
Let Shea average 30 and win 4 more championships, the conversation's gonna be very different. But that's what I'm saying. That's where I say Carmelo's a 30-point-a-game scorer. Kevin Durant, a 30-point-a-game scorer. Those guys are judged. James Harden, 30-point-a-game scorer. Those guys are judged differently, right? Like, that's why Bron only hit 30 a few times.
So what's the difference then?
Jefferson, once again, he's cooking right here. Bron actually had lesser averages when he went to the Miami Heat, and those were his most successful years in the league. Once again, this season, we're going to see Jalen Brunson still get his numbers because I believe his game is well suited to adjust where the total offense can still flow. The main catalyst is going to be Karl-Anthony Towns. Can he make that adjustment?
Bron only hit 30 a few times.
So what's the difference then?
What do you mean?
Like, what's the difference between Shea and Melo, other than their team? What do you think? Like,
I know. I just.
Or you just think it's the team?
One of them's a two-way player, first of all. So when he's not scoring, he definitely makes it up. And Shea's not a ball stopper. He not only makes quick decisions, he also doesn't have his head down when he's driving to the hoop. He's usually looking to play make off the gravity of defenders that he pulls in.
This is what I would say. I would say that Shea proves that his 30 a game is in a class of very few people. Carmelo is the same scoring legit, and don't get me wrong, Shea's even more efficient, but I don't think Carmelo had the teams around him. But in basketball hierarchy, what did you do with what you have? We criticized LeBron for going and losing to the finals and getting swept by the Spurs when he was in fucking year 23. We can't absolve Carmelo of the 30 points a game he scored, top 10 all time in scoring, and say, hey, what did you do with that 30 for your teams? And I'll give him some, like, his teams weren't great, but there were opportunities for him to go other places. He did have, like, again, in Denver teams, yeah, they were balling.
That was my worst.
Yeah. So then you start looking at, okay, defensively, what was Carmelo defensively? Then you start looking at players in other spaces. So I just say the 30-point a game and win an MVP, you put yourself in the class of the Kobe's, of those, like, there's very few people that have ever done it. We can't put Shea in the same category from, like, the winning standpoint as a team, but from a scorer, you got to prove.
Hey, RJ is finally cooking. Normally he's a Knicks hater, but he's cooking right here. But it is what it is. This season, we're going to get a nice taste of this exact scenario here, as Jalen Brunson, his game is well suited for the whole team to still flow. He's going to get more comfortable in his catch and shoot role, as he went through that in his time in Dallas with Luka. And don't be surprised if OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges make the All-Star team. One of those guys are going to come up off this offensive system. But this brand new Mike Brown offense is going to take some time, and we got to be patient. By early to mid-January, I expect this team to be clicking on a whole new level. And we all got to wonder, out of that bench rotation, who else is going to come up? Deuce has definitely been on the loose. Will Jordan Clarkson thrive, or maybe Tyler Kohler could come up? There's going to be plenty of opportunities, but that flow that RJ had made reference to is exactly what Mike D'Antoni had the Knicks on in that 2009 season, and now we're watching the team get back into those modern times. This is definitely the first season in a long time that the Knicks offense has been this modern. It's going to be fun though. Put on your seatbelts and enjoy the ride. So just getting around the culture of basketball, and something that we all love, the kicks, the fashion, the style, and just a lot of the other subcultures surrounding fashion. Every once in a while you get an anomaly. And PJ Tucker, man, when I say he is a sneaker king, I've never seen an NBA player in game play with such heat on his feet. I mean, I'm surprised some of the soles are not cracking on these vintage shoes that he's wearing. From Off-White to Travis Scott to Red October Yeezys. And Tucker even getting player edition shoes that not even the player that it was designed for even got him. I mean, I've never seen this before, but Tucker kind of talked about where did his style come from and how it originated. As when he was drafted, he actually spent 2 years in the league, and then he went overseas for 5 years, and then he eventually made his way back onto the league, but he had to work his way up the roster. He was about the 15th man on the roster, but he worked his way up. But you guys hear from the shoe god himself, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
And it's crazy now, like going back and going to Fashion Week and stuff. Like when I was there and going and doing it, it was like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And the opportunities and stuff have come from that. It's like, I would have never dreamed it. I never thought it would happen.
More
Totally
Europe.
different, bro. Totally different. That really
Because you're from
changed
Raleigh, North
everything.
Carolina.
Right.
So you
Right.
go
No,
from there,
it
yeah.
totally changed. Like going over there, for sure. I remember when I was playing in Greece.
Greece is like that too.
Greece is definitely
Beautiful.
like that. It was at the Saloniki, bro. Love, 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 love. There's a guy, he was like a janitor for the arena, right? Like we practiced at the arena that we played in. And every day, like I would get there early. I'll go, because I'm a coffee guy, so I'll go get my coffee, sit out, and Greece is like people watching, sitting out. Oh, it's like crazy. Yeah. And the Saloniki is on the water, so I would like go out to the beach, have my coffee. And some days I get the price early. And this man that was a janitor, he wore suits to be a janitor to work every single day. When I tell you he was fly, like, bro, and he's a janitor. He didn't have a lot, but he would like mix and match. And I used to love coming to see how he was going to switch his fit up, bro. I thought it was the dopest thing ever. But he would like have his like blaze, like his jacket with different pants. He would flip-flop them like with different matchups. Bro, I swear, every single day he wore a suit, bro. I swear.
So every time you go to the tunnel, you think about
Bro,
that. Like, bro, if he's getting jiggy, I got to go crazy. That's hard, bro.
I think about him every
that's
single
dope.
time, bro. I swear. This is like 2008, 9? Like 2008.
That's dope.
Every day, bro. And I would be in my locker, and he'll walk in, and I always mess with him, but I really, like, admired him. Like, he was, like, it was dope. Like, he was a janitor, bro. And he would put on clothes every day.
And not only does it show you can get your inspiration from anywhere, you don't have to be all dripped out in designer to have some swag. But shout out to PJ for even noticing the janitor's style, because for a lot of people, especially on his level, that would have went over their heads. And one thing I noticed about a lot of journeymen throughout the league, their level of perception is a lot higher. This is probably why they make for better coaches. You don't really see a superstar player who's become one of the best coaches in the NBA. You don't see that at all. It tends to be the journeymen. And it might have to do with their level of appreciation for the small things.
One question I've been wanting to ask, like from the get-go, how you've turned Nike's thinking into how they sign guys, right? So you were one of the first guys to get like it was a big deal about your Nike deal.
Yes.
And like you started getting your PEs because you were all retro.
Yes.
Talked about that process and how that came. You talked about Nico, but then I have a follow-up question to that. Like, how was that Nike process?
If you're not an all-star, you're not getting PEs, right?
You ain't getting nothing. No money. You ain't getting nothing.
You're not getting a check, and you're not getting. You're gonna get like some playoff.
Don't forget
bonus.
your shoes.
Yeah.
You might have to buy your own shoes. You get 10,000 in merch.
And you're gonna wear what they want you to wear. Like, it's like for real. So that switch is crazy because not even like the backlash, but you're gonna get some hate. Like, like how listen, bro, like my name was in meetings like where dudes like dudes telling their reps how PJ got these, I ain't get these, right? And that was like a thing. Like Jordan,
they drop everything.
I will say, like in our locker room, dudes are showing love.
And it'd be a lot of love, more love than anything.
Like, yo, this is dope,
bro. Like literally, that's the first time like I played Kawhi like all these like a bunch of years, and we never said a word to each other. I guard him every time. He's never said a word to me. And one night I forgot what I wore that game in San Antonio, bro. And we on the free throw line, and we both like leaned over. It was a good game, and he's like, we like lean like this, and he on the box. He like looked at me. He's like, yo, those are dope. Bro, that's the first thing he ever said to me ever, bro. I swear I just burst out laughing, though. He was talking about some shoes. I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Bro.
What was the craziest pair you think you ever wore on the court? Or your favorite?
Probably,
that's tough.
That is tough. But I'll just say, just for the story, the Sean Marion 5s that he never got.
Jordan, he was a free agent.
Yeah.
Jordan had made them, Sean Marion, some Jordan 5s with his number on them, with the Phoenix colors. Crazy.
I had some Quentin Richardsons.
Yeah,
because
Q
Q was
hard. Q was 60, 50
He
shows,
was
right?
15. I was squeezing in.
In Chicago, bro, you show love.
He showed love.
And with the player edition shoes, I'm wondering how PJ even gets them because the sample size, it used to be a size 9 only. When they made samples, that was the size it was. But the fact that he keeps getting sample sizes in his size, which I'm pretty sure is bigger than the size 9, there's something to be said about that. Remember, PJ Tucker is a role player. It's not like the league is promoting him the same way they are for other superstars, but just his natural love for just his drip and the way he wore it. It not only garnered attention from the fans, but also the players themselves. And goddamn, it made players who even had deals get jealous asking their reps.
Q, my dog. Shout out to Q, dog. But he never got them though. So he ended up signing back with Nike. So he never got the shoes, but they made them, and I think it's like 3 or 4 pair out like in existence, and I got both colorways of them.
And then he's got those purple, the purple Yeezys, right?
Oh yeah,
those are crazy.
the cheetahs.
Is there a secret to this, or how do you be finding some of these shoes?
Everybody,
if
bro,
it's a secret, don't tell us.
On my way here, somebody's like, "Yo, PJ, let me get the plug." Like, I don't got a plug.
Because
I have friends. It's just now like,
oh yeah, you built
it's
the
been
network.
so many years, so I know the dudes
ghost,
that dog, like
ghost
that
out of
people
Jersey.
will never know.
Yeah.
You'll never know this dude. Like the main guy I get a lot of shoes from. Nobody will ever know who he is. Like,
and PJ right here is about to expose how much of a sneakerhead he is, because I used to be on the same tip, and I have a connect where I got 2 pairs of Yeezys easy, and this is before the price went up. So I just threw the money at it, and even before I got to wear the second colorway, the price jumped up so high I ended up just selling them. But at the end of the day, there's guys out there that they have real connects to the shoes, and that's really off the strength and love. And these guys are not even trying to be famous at all, but you have to really be a sneakerhead and dig deep into the online forums and websites. But right here, you're about to see how deep PJ Tucker is into the whole sneaker culture, and this is straight out of love. Because other players, they just really just call up one person, a Nike rep, or someone that they know is close to it, or boyfriend or girlfriend of a rep, and they try to get the shoes. And the only reason they want to get the shoes is because they see that it's real popular and the attention that it gets.
Just is a normal, the regularest guy you ever seen in your life.
I had one of those. He wore 16. I forgot where he lived at. He's in Texas now. He lives in Dallas. I think his name's Terrence. It's my man. And we were the same shoe size. And he was always finding Oregon colorways, like for Oregon University.
Yeah.
He's always finding them in 16s.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw a gem out there. If you guys want to meet any of these sneaker connects, just go to any sneaker convention in the local city that you're in. They have them. It's on the online forums. They have them every once in a while. There's a few Instagram accounts, but when you go to those meetings, look at the tables and you'll see certain people with a lot of heat. Those tend to be the guys to get the connection from. It's not really a Nike rep or just you figure a player would have an inside connection. It's not really those guys. There's guys literally getting the shoes straight out the factory. That's how deep their connects go.
Just look out for him. He's like, they'll throw me a couple of dollars. I can get 2 pair. Like, I got the 9 all black Nubucks, the Oregon ones.
Right.
But like, it was a football player's shoes. So he beat him up a little bit, but I got some of them. And so I understand what you're saying. Like, you just build the network.
Bro, it's like over time of being like early on, being on Nike Talk, on like the blogs and
Nike
stuff.
Talk.
Like,
damn, dude said Nike Talk. Wow, I haven't heard that shit in years. That's crazy. An NBA player with all those Nike reps, Adidas reps, all those connections, he's still on the forums. Someone like that who's connected, he's on the forums. That's straight out of love.
Really, like, these dudes like my lifelong friends. Like, I've known these dudes like a long time. Like, it ain't even like dead ass. So even early on, before like this boom of like everybody wanting sneakers and all that.
And that boom comes from Instagram. Instagram changed the sneaker game a lot. A lot of people, they just seen what kind of likes and shares that other people got, and they really like the shoes because of that. But Instagram or just social media in general, they changed the whole sneaker game for sure. A lot of people who are not really into the shoes, they're in the game now. And it's sort of mainstream. It's a lot more mainstream than what it used to be. What is PJ Tucker? I believe he's 38. Yeah, so earlier on in his younger years, sneaker collecting was not a mainstream thing. that definitely was a niche in itself.
These dudes, like right now, he could shut the internet down. Like literally shut it down. Like kill me. Like I have nothing on him, like at all.
Wow.
He has 300 or 400 followers. Like nobody knows him. I'm telling you, bro. It's the wildest thing ever. Deadass. And he it's cool with that. Like he don't want no he ain't like that. He just loves sneakers and he's my age and he's been doing it forever. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he got insides on a bunch of wild ways of getting shoes. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the culture. Like it's the real culture.
That's what's up.
And when he says part of the real culture, he means the online culture of sneaker collecting. Before it became a little bit more mainstream, people used to actually look for their size for months before even finding it. Now, if someone decides to be a sneakerhead today, they could pretty much collect any shoe they want in their size right away.
Where do you want to take it next for yourself? Do you want to do your own brand? Have you ever thought about making your own shoe? Like, is there something where when you're done, you forget coaching, I want to go to Nike and be a creative director. I want to start PJ's Kicks. Like, you can do basically anything because you have the wave.
Yes.
So what's something that you really think about? And when it comes down to it, do you ever get tired of feeling like they done piggybacked you?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a dead end in sneakers, and low key you're keeping it alive.
Yes.
And when Nike comes and gets you, it's not because they
Kanye
want to. They're saved.
Kanye brought Jordans back
for sure.
Yeah.
For real. He kept them nobody's talking about that. But what you've done for basketball, they changed the NBA rule
for you.
Like you can only wear 51% white, 51% black.
I used to hate.
And then now you can go crazy.
You just go crazy, and that that alone, man. That feat was crazy because that killed me for years.
You're right,
dog.
right.
I used to be so
cut out
sick
60-70%. So
for sure. So I don't know. Like I'm really, bro, and I say this and it may sound a little crazy, but I don't know. Like whatever opportunity comes, and I think that it's the next step and the next move, but I don't chase any there's no collaboration or something I'm chasing. It's just that makes sense. I'll do that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I like it like that, to be organic and to be somebody that want to do something with me, and they come and we have a organic relationship. We yo, let's do something together. That makes sense. Cool. But I don't have a next step because I don't want my own brand necessarily. I will never have my own shoe because I could never. I literally was just talking to him about it. I am not wearing the same shoes 2 days in a row. I feel bad for dudes with signature shoes. You gotta wear that shoe. It's my shoe, but maybe I don't want to wear these today. I don't. But you gotta wear your shoe.
And what makes PJ an anomaly is that in this day and age, most people are just followers. Literally, in social media, you follow someone, the styles, the trends, everyone's pretty much a copycat. It's rare to see someone have their own style. With PJ, it's not just about the sneakers. It's about the way he wears his clothes. You could tell he has his own style, and it's influenced from his experiences. So he's pretty much one of one, which is really rare because nowadays, from even the females, a lot of ladies are wearing the same Kylie Jenner makeup look, that little duck face Instagram look. Everyone has sort of the same look. It's some strange shit going on. It's some get out shit going on out here, but I mean, it's not just the ladies, even the guys. All the rappers have the same look. Just the choker chain. It's just the everyone has the same haircut, the same style, the same look, the same tattoos. The shit is weird. It's a weird era that we're in right now, but I believe that's why PJ stands out so much, because they know that his style, his look, his feel, everything is organic. It's organically him. He's not giving you a copycat version of something that was already pre-made. And that's a rarity now in the age of social media and just everyone following each other and everyone looking at the same timeline, the same algorithm.
There's monetary value behind
it. Of course, but I don't. For me, I don't care. I don't. The money, bro. We're good.
I got you.
We make a lot of money, but we're good.
Respect.
It's a lot of money, but I don't want to wear. My shoes matter that much to me.
And money does not buy style. Most importantly, money does not buy style. You see a lot of people wearing designer name brand shirts. Some of them are ugly as shit. Money does not buy style. Some of the best designer clothes are the ones with no name brands on them. Low key.
Thought about making your own shoe? Is there something where when you're done, you forget coaching, I want to go to Nike and be a creative director. I want to start PJ's Kicks. You can do basically anything because you
Right.
have the wave.
Yes.
So what's something that you really think about? And when it comes down to it, do you ever get tired of feeling like it done piggybacked you?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a dead end in sneakers, and low key you're keeping it alive.
Yes.
And when Nike comes and gets you, it's not because they
Kanye
want to. They're saved.
Kanye brought Jordans back
for sure.
Yeah.
For real. He kept them like
Yeah.
nobody's talking about that. But what you've done for basketball, they changed the NBA rule
for you.
Like
Man,
you can only wear 51% white, 51%
Man,
black.
I used to hate.
And then now
man.
you can go
Now you
crazy.
can just go crazy, and that that alone, man. That feat was crazy because that killed me for years.
You're right,
dog.
right.
I used to be so
It cut out
sick up
60,
there.
70%. So
Dog,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So I don't know. Like I'm really, bro, and I say this and it may sound a little crazy, but I don't know. Like whatever opportunity comes, and I think that it's the next step and the next move, but I don't like chase any there's no like collaboration or like something I'm chasing. It's just like that makes sense. I'll do that. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? And I like it like that, to be organic and to be like somebody that want to do something with me, and they come and we have a organic relationship. We like, yo, let's do something together. Like that.
And then you both also bring something to the table to that collaboration. A lot of these guys are just bringing their name and their brand. That's about it. They're not bringing no ideas, no influences, nothing.
It's like cool, but like I don't have like a next step in because I don't want my own brand necessarily. I will never have my own shoe because I literally was just talking to him about it. I'm not wearing the same shoes 2 days ago. Like I feel bad for dudes with signature shoes. Like you gotta wear that shoe. Like, man, it's my shoe, but maybe I don't want to wear these today. Like I don't. But you gotta wear your shoe.
If there's monetary value behind
Of course,
it.
but I don't. See, for me, I don't care. Like I don't. The money, bro. We're good.
I got
like,
you.
we make a lot of money, but we're good. Like
respect.
It's a lot of money, but I don't want to wear. Like my shoes matter that much to me. Like the shoes on my feet, like what I'm wearing, it matters that much to me. Like I care about what I'm wearing in this game, even if I'm shooting one time.
Oh, so this is my last question. This is my last question. How much does comfort come into the decision making of what shoes you wear on the court?
Oh, that's a good one, and that is like being 18 years, 38 years old now. It matters now.
Yeah, that's a great question I've always had for PJ, watching him playing some Air Jordan 3s and just some old school, just Jordans overall, Jordan 1s. I know those are not comfortable at all. No offense to Jordan Brand, but some of their shoes are just not basketball shoes. They're nice to wear to like the club or the lounge, but they are not good shoes to play basketball in. Those things are stiff as fuck.
Like I wear my P's a lot more now for sure.
Okay.
Like I don't go as crazy as I used to. Like before, when you young, dog, like I could switch out 6 times in one game, no insoles. Like I was like grimy with it. Like
damn, no insoles. Playing an NBA game in some Jordan 3s sound crazy. I'm surprised some of the cracks on the outer soles or the shoes just overall just don't start cracking, especially with those bubbles, man. I don't know. It's not ironic that Zion Williams busted out one of his shoes, but I'm not sure if that was a Jordan brand shoe, but it wouldn't shock me. But Jordan 4s, 3s, 5s, man, and some of the vintage ones PJ was rocking, I don't know. I'm surprised those even lasted 1 quarter.
Didn't matter. Now I'm putting them insoles in.
You start
if
feeling
they not,
a corn come on, you
not
like,
doing that.
That's why I was saying, man, I worked out. I told this trainer, like, yo, I'm on vacation and I didn't bring any shoes, but I got these 3s and I'm knowing my feet.
Oh shit, there go them 3s again.
So I'm just trying to get a quick light workout in. I just want to see the ball go on the hoop, get some shots. And I had never worked out with this trainer. This man tried to show me his entire repertoire. I'm dribbling up and down the court, defensive slides, and in the middle of the workout, I'm like, bro, what? Like, I got a pride to me, and then like, this is nothing. Bro, my feet are on fire right now. I just told you this.
Hell yeah, man. Them Jordan 3s, even the 4s, those are uncomfortable to play basketball in.
I would never play in a pair of 3s, and every time I saw you playing in 3s, I'm like, no, you said the other kid was batshit crazy. I'm like, this man batshit crazy.
And I thought the same thing. I'm like, damn, PJ playing hell of a defense on KD with them 3s on. That is nuts. Anybody wearing them Jordan 3s and 4s, it's painful, man. It is painful, especially the 4s, man. That leather is thin as fuck.
I actually like 3s though. I actually like 3s.
Bro, they had my feet told.
Cause they wide. I like 3s.
My joints was just like Well, I'm like a 16 and a half on
Yeah.
the court. So if I'm wearing a 16, I can practice in them and I can move around, but it's got to be like it's got to be a newer model performance
For
style.
sure. No, I get that. I get
bro,
that.
my feet were on fire. Oh, and it's funny because you can wear a pair of shoes in that real time, like 2009, 2010, and it's like the most comfortable shoe I ever wore. But then I got like old shoes I'll put back on and go back outside and hoop, and I'm like, man, these ain't comfortable because I'm just keeping up with the new technology. Like I'm like, dang, this is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But it's great to hear from the shoe god, and I should say the fit god himself, PJ Tucker. In a world of just everyone being kind of copycat and everyone stuck on these algorithms where sometimes it kind of dumbs down everyone's ideas of just their individuality, it's great to see someone shine out like PJ, and he's definitely killing it with the drip. And your personal drip should always be off of your own personal tastes and your influences throughout your own life, as that cannot be put in an algorithm and it can never be some copy and paste shit. So the NBA is at a very interesting time and space when it comes to sports gambling. As last season we spoke about how sports betting brought over $2 billion in just one quarter in New York State alone. And then when it comes to this gambling endeavor, as the NBA and other sports leagues try to corporatize this industry, which has always involved the underworld, there are going to be quite a few hiccups. And in this segment right here, we're going to learn how the Jontay Porter and also the situation with Malik Beasley has a lot of evidence of being connected to a few people that are on Knicks Twitter. Ironically, very unusual, but these guys had known months in advance that Jontay Porter and Malik Beasley would be investigated, and they even showed receipts 2 or 3 games before the initial game that was investigated for prop bets. There's definitely some sort of gambling scheme going on, but we're going to break this down layer by layer. And first, we're going to hear from Adam Silver as the NBA speaks on engagement, as they have a lot of competition for eyeballs when it comes to keeping especially younger fans engaged with their product.
The data is clear that if somebody has a bet on a game, even a small bet, they're much more likely to engage in that match. They're much more likely to watch it. They're more likely to watch it for more minutes. They're more likely to be interested in the participants and to follow the sport. So there's no doubt there's a business component to this.
Now, right here, we heard Adam Silver talk about the data. Keep in mind, it's the same data that was telling him before load management was a good thing, just for him to back up out of that while the NBA was in negotiations for a brand new TV deal. He referred back to the data not being valid when it came to load management. But right here, when it comes to the gambling, all of a sudden he goes back on that same data. Again, the rabbit hole gets deep, but we're going to break this down slow. Let's listen to him one more time.
The data is clear that if somebody has a bet on a game, even a small bet, they're much more likely to engage in that match. They're much more likely to watch it. They're more likely to watch it for more minutes. They're more likely to be interested in the participants and to follow the sport. So there's no doubt there's a business component to this.
There's definitely a business component to this, but they're going to have to accept the good and the bad. And as we go through this segment, we're going to see the Jontay Porter incident has a connection to the Malik Beasley situation, as both players had debts owed to people that were on Knicks Twitter. Again, the rabbit hole does get deep. We're going to break this slow. And just to stick to Jontay Porter and his situation, and how Terry Rozier was also kind of linked in a similar way before he was found innocent. The issue with the prop bets puts the leagues in a very sticky situation, and it also exposes that all the gambling companies, they have third-party entities working alongside with them as almost a collaborator, letting each casino know unusual bets. So some of you fellas that love hitting up some of those gambling apps, just know that once you get too good, even if you're not committing any type of crime or fixing any games, they do have an entity where they could share information and how often you do come away with the pot. Now, the NBA made an adjustment after the Jontay Porter situation, in which players who make under a certain amount of salary, you cannot place prop bets on those players. So they kind of put in a little play to avoid that system. And this is where we get into the meat and potatoes, because Pablo Torre and a few other NBA media members had tracked down a few people who actually knew in advance, about 6 months, that Jontay Porter and Malik Beasley would be investigated in some sort of gambling scheme. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
So Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, who's under contract with the Heat as we speak, he became the second player after Jontay Porter to be publicly identified as a part of this federal investigation into sports betting. And what I'm told is, contrary to Shams Charania's reporting, is that Terry Rozier has not been cleared of any wrongdoing, only that his name came up in the existing federal investigation.
That's very interesting because that was not the narrative going on with the Terry Rozier situation. The way it was reported, it was almost as if his name was cleared. See, the league is in a sticky situation because it's the way they overtly promoting this. And for them to just have all these lingering investigations over their heads, even their media partners are reporting certain stories kind of very secretive. It's either the follow-up to these investigations are going out of the news cycle, or just the way the Terry Rozier follow-up was made, and it made it seem like his name was cleared.
And this relates directly to why Moose is this character that we're focusing on. Because FreeMoose_NBA, Tom, speaks to the federal investigation, which clearly is also still ongoing.
Right. On that day, the same day that Terry Rozier news drops, this guy, FreeMoose_NBA, tweeted something that was even more provocative. Because on that day, he posted, quote, "First was Jontay, then was Rozier. Next you'll hear about capital M, 4 asterisks, capital B, and then 6 asterisks." This guy, FreeMoose NBA, posted another tweet right after that one and said, "There's another current player who's gonna have a report come out about them next. Won't say the name, but they play on the Pistons right now."
What this is the first documented mention by anyone anywhere that Malik Beasley was going to come up as part of this investigation. This is how this news actually breaks. FreeMoose_NBA has it in that rule of 3 tweet.
And in this reporting, I determined this guy at the time of this tweet had something like 10,000 followers. And a lot of them were like, huh? Like, what? One of them later that night in a tweet exchange with a Pistons fan, because Malik Beasley at this point is playing for the Pistons and being awesome. He tells Moose, "You're lying, bro. Show me any amount of proof, bro. You don't know what he means to us." And Moose says, quote, "I can't yet. I'm sorry, but gotta protect myself." 15 views on that tweet.
It's incredible. I mean, this time capsule, which is almost 6 months before the news breaks, right? On the eve of free agency, 6 months before it happens, it's happening in the mentions of this thing.
So that's the crazy thing about this is maybe you think, oh, he's just throwing shit in the wall and trying to see what sticks, right? Shot in the dark. Then he quote tweets that tweet with a screenshot of a betting slip from January 22nd, 2024. That betting slip is Jontay Porter unders. Under on points, 5.5, and under on rebounds, 3.5. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh yeah, that's the game, right? No, the game that was in the court filings that under investigation was, for the first time, was January 26th.
Sheesh, that rabbit hole is getting deep. It seems like the feds were a little bit late onto the scheme. Even their investigation was, it was off. This scheme by Porter seems like it was going on long before they just actually reported it. And this might have played out for optics reasons. They don't want to make it seem like this was a long-going thing. But again, the way the NBA is interacting with the online world through streaming, or even their media partners like ESPN, now having the online personalities, these stories are going to be very hard to suppress, especially if they get way, way too deep going down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
Meaning, whoever placed the slip had the in on the Jontay Porter action months before the investigation was announced.
The question here is now very simple, right? On some level, because the entire internet, the entire NBA, we can now confirm this, right? Everybody begins to ask, Tom, who the is Moose_NBA? How did a random Twitter user on NBA Twitter know about both Jontay Porter and also Malik Beasley on the day that Terry Rozier's name was included for the first time, the second of the three guys, before any of this was breaking?
Making things way more complicated is that FreeMoose_NBA deleted his account and then disappeared off the internet.
Now, after some deep digging, I'm not gonna lie, some of these media guys were right on it. And Free Moose comes out of NYC. There's cameras everywhere, especially if you go into Knicks games and you're sitting courtside. Yeah, they're gonna scope you out. There's all kinds of camera angles in MSG. And unlike other NBA arenas, Madison Square Garden is almost like a police station hub. More than 90% of the security at that arena is NYPD officers because the city has a contract with James Dolan and Madison Square Garden events, I should say, not just the Knicks, it's the Rangers or just most events. And Adam Silver, or I believe Commissioner David Stern, had made a couple of fusses about some of the officers bringing their street energy into that arena. And the presence of just being over policed in that arena is kind of hostile to fans who are just coming in to have fun. But living in NYC, there's cameras everywhere. And these guys were not only able to track down this Twitter user, but he also made the mistake of agreeing to a phone call with one of these media members.
What's going on?
Nothing much, my man.
How we doing on this fine Tuesday?
Not too bad. I'm busy at work, but not too bad. I took a little time off.
Oh yeah, what's work for you?
I am a manager at an auto collision shop.
Okay. Very cool. And where's that at? In New York somewhere?
Yeah.
NYC shit right there, man. I'm not gonna lie. We paranoid as hell. We're not gonna admit exactly where we are. But he should not be on the phone with this guy, because there is technology out there where they got your voice. And as we're gonna see it play out, they're gonna be able to track these guys.
Okay. Well, cool. So thanks for getting back to me. We're doing like this story on Malik Beasley, and your Moose stuff came across when we were like going into the story. And so finally connecting with you is great. And so thank you for picking up.
So what I find out is that he's in his 20s. He is a Knicks fan. Not just a Knicks fan, he is a Knicks super fan. And he goes to Madison Square Garden and everything.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Who would you say is your favorite Knicks player of all time?
That is another mistake right there. Again, NYC, there's cameras everywhere, especially in that arena.
Gotta be Melo.
Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah, it's gotta be Melo.
But even more than that, when it comes to NBA Twitter, this guy says he's very well connected.
Mustafa Omar likes finding out stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I go by Moose. I know a bunch of people involved in the NBA space, so if I ever have any questions, I'm able to eventually get them answered. The way that, like, you're a reporter and you go and you ask your questions to everybody and you try to get whatever, I kind of do the same. I just do good research as well. I'm a stats guy. I was giving out stats and stuff that people wouldn't normally think of. My first ever post was a playoff scenario chart, very similar to the one that NBA PR account on Twitter posted, but mine was a day before, and then theirs looked identical to mine, which was very funny. So everybody kind of called out the fact that the NBA PR account basically ripped off my scenario chart. I started growing my account relatively quickly. Got suspended. Not sure why till this day. Made a second account. That one also got suspended. And now I'm kind of just off the grid of it because my accounts keep getting suspended.
Did he ever find out why he was getting suspended?
Well, he says he doesn't know.
I wasn't, like, the most family-friendly account either. I'm sure I said some things that people are going to take to liking sometimes. I'm sure that's possible.
I do like at this point how this guy is kind of all three of us in one person. He loves finding stuff out. He loves stats. He loves talking shit on Twitter unapologetically, like a bean.
Sounds like every fucking New Yorker. I'm not gonna lie. We love talking shit.
He loves talking shit on Twitter unapologetically, like a bean.
And he is the sort of guy, again, who wants people to know that he knows things, including a forthcoming report about Malik Beasley. So on January 30th, 2025, the same day that the federal investigation into Terry Rozier was announced, he tweets that thing out. The prophecy of Malik Beasley.
I mean, I just did it to be a little cryptic. I knew nobody would believe it, but obviously it's fine. I just put it out there just to be a little, like, cryptic for when it did come out. People could look back at it the way that they did when the news did came out.
But how did you come across the Malik Beasley info?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people in the basketball and the gambling space, so, you know, word does get around. Eventually, it gets to me from people that I know. Obviously, people I'm not going to, like, sit here and name, but I do have people that do know a lot about, you know, the gambling ring and NBA and stuff, and I didn't know about Beasley during when he was actually doing it.
And just to be clear here, that's Moose talking, right? He's saying Malik Beasley did it. That's not us saying that.
I found out this past January 2025, and obviously now they are suffering having to let him walk in free agency and replace him with somebody like Duncan Robinson, who's not even close to the caliber player that I thought Malik Beasley was this year.
So when I asked Mustafa Omar who told him about Malik Beasley specifically, he kept claiming that this was something he saw on Reddit, which was kind of strange.
This is something that was dug up from Reddit. I mean, everything that I found and I tweet about, I only tweet about it because I find it publicly first.
I know people, I know things, but also I saw this on Reddit.
Again, of course, Medea's family reunioned this. We scanned through everything we could find on Reddit, looking for a hidden Malik Beasley. Where is Malik Beasley here? We could find nothing resembling this prediction. And of course, by the way, to state the obvious again, if this was publicly noted anywhere, then we would have probably heard about it in the way that we heard about this tweet. It would have gone viral, it would have been surfaced, the prophecy would have been someone else's and not Moose's.
So then I started asking Mustafa Omar, Moose, about the Jontay Porter FanDuel betting slip that he posted, which again was placed on January 22nd, 2024, months before the Jontay Porter investigation was ever public. Now, when I asked him about this, he became cagier than he'd been at any point in our conversation.
Honestly, I don't know much about the slip. Like I said, it was just sent to me from someone, but
he said it was sent to him from someone else. It wasn't his betting slip. He just happened to get it and then post it onto his account. And this is where we should mention something we have not yet told Moose, which is that deep in our reporting, we found yet another screenshot. Yes, another one from Moose's private paywall Discord, where he was trying to drum up business for his next meme coin, the sequel, not just National Coin Association, which he apparently, lost his shirt on. The goal this time, a quote, over 100 million market cap, end quote. And on November 27th, 2024, he wrote explicitly, quote, this next project is going to have people involved that no other project would even be able to get their hands on. Some names I can't even legally mention because they made so much money off a certain NBA gambling incident last season and are facing trials. But they will be involved in this.
So hold on. At this point in time, November 2024, the only gambling incident known, confirmed in the NBA is Jontay Porter.
Yes. In the Jontay Porter story, the feds found this deeply sloppy private Telegram chat. And the most memorable character in Jontay Porter's group chats was the owner of a deli, on Roosevelt Island here in our city of New York. And this deli owner, who I mentioned at the top of the episode, was not merely a person that Jontay Porter owed, quote, significant gambling debts to, according to federal prosecutors. I also remember this deli owner as a New Yorker because he had been previously embroiled in a scandal of a different kind. And this is the scandal that involved an unhoused woman who fell into the subway tracks as the F train was approaching. And as a result, she lost both of her legs. This woman sued, wound up settling with the MTA, which runs the New York City subway, for $4 million. The person that she trusted to cash one of her final settlement checks for around $800,000, according to these legal documents, happens to be this same deli owner.
Just to put this into proper perspective, they found a deli owner in small-ass Roosevelt Island, which is almost like finding a needle in a haystack in NYC. It's so small. It's mostly apartment buildings. And to find this lawsuit and it being the same guy that the Jontay Porter owed money to is insane. Pablo Torre and this crew right now is doing some Illuminati level of investigating. Holy shit.
What the fuck?
By the name of Amar Awade. And Amar allegedly took that check, the city's payback, to, again, a homeless, legless, wheelchair-bound woman who was also suffering from mental illness. He took that check to his friend who was a bank manager, and then they got the $800,000 deposited into the account of his deli, which Amar denied in court in a case that was eventually dismissed, although he did admit that $80,000 did wind up in his personal account. So prosecutors, for the record here, alleged that he spent the woman's money on, quote, gambling trips and wedding expenses, including a bachelor party in Las Vegas and honeymooning in Turks and Caicos.
This is as dark as it gets, this story.
I missed the part where we were talking about Larsa Pippen.
My man spent that money like a woman. God damn. He did everything but get a fucking BBL.
Things were so lighthearted back then.
What I want our audience to know is that what I started doing at this point was comb through every publicly accessible social media profile we had ever found for our guy, Moose. And while looking through the names of the people that Mustafa Omar is friends with on Facebook, I found one extremely familiar name.
The Twitter user that's named Moose is friends with the same guy that the Jontay Porter owes money to, the bodega owner that cashed that $800,000 check for the one-legged lady. This shit is crazy.
So he's not lying when he says, I'm connected with a guy who's involved in the NBA's gambling incident.
Yes, a certain NBA gambling incident. There, in fact, is a connection. We have just verified that. They are literal Facebook friends. And furthermore, what I did with my life was I naturally plunged further into the Amar Awade rabbit hole. And this one brought me to a source that I encountered here in New York City who knew him from back when they were both frequenting these allegedly illegal private poker games in Manhattan around 5 to 8 years ago. And my source says that this game that they were playing in actually took place in a private apartment. This is how this worked. Residential building, top floor, just blocks away from Madison Square Garden, actually. It has since moved, but that's where it was at the time. And it's a sort of game where the minimum buy-in is $2,500, AKA the monthly allotment for weed, according to the trap rules that we encountered before. There is no maximum, it turns out. And it's otherwise full of lawyers and doctors and hedge fund managers. And also, according to my source, several of the names on those Jontay Porter group chats who also wound up getting arrested. One of those Porter associates who got arrested was a dealer at this poker game, I am told. Another dealer who went by the name Bruce. And both of those guys, obviously, also got ensnared in this probe. And anyhow, when I showed my source to, again, fact check this profile, this Facebook profile of Amar Awade, what he immediately said, without any knowledge of any of this episode, I didn't mention Mustafa Omar and how they're friends or anything. I showed him this photo, and my source just immediately laughs over the phone. And he identifies him as, oh, yeah, I I have stories about this guy. And what my source told me is that even after Amar was identified as being involved in the Jontay Porter investigation, remember, Jontay Porter was banned for life from the NBA as of April 2024, Amar was still texting people trying to set up poker games. Quote from my source, I do remember thinking, is he so arrogant that he thinks he's above this? End quote. This takes us directly back to the phone call that Tom was having with the guy who loves Carmelo Anthony, who is Facebook friends with Amar, who had also just been telling you, Tom, I believe, the following about the Jontay Porter betting slip screenshot that he tweeted out back in January of 2024.
Honestly, I don't know much about the slip. Like I said, it was just sent to me from someone, but
So here I had to do the most important thing in this conversation. I had to ask Moose about his connection to Amar directly.
Are you friends with or do you know Amar Awade?
No.
No?
Damn, that's his first hint that he fucked up even talking to them on the phone.
No.
Okay, because I saw that you're Facebook friends with Amar, and so I figured maybe that was somehow you were associated with him.
No.
Like, this guy's been super chatty this whole time, and when I bring up Amar Awade, just one word, no. Which brings us back to the Facebook profile of Amar. Another photo that you can see on it at the top, the banner photo. It's a bit blurry. It's like someone is taking the photo from way back in the 300 section, and it's kind of zoomed in.
Now, for those of you that are on the visual version, this is a picture of Melo dapping up someone courtside at MSG during a playoff game. So right now, these reporters are going to triangulate all these photos that were taken during that game to try to figure out who these guys are. Once again, it's some Illuminati investigation that Pablo Torre and his crew has been doing. And I don't think these fellas from Queens were ready for this type of heat coming down their back.
At the center of this photo is a guy who looks like Amar standing courtside on the baseline at Madison Square Garden. And what's important here is that in this moment, this person is also dapping up a tall black dude dressed in all yellow, a yellow sweater with matching yellow shorts, wearing a baseball cap. The photo was uploaded. You can see it on the Facebook profile. The photo was uploaded on April 23rd, 2024. So this is during the 2024 NBA playoffs. So what do? You go to the game logs. You go to Basketball Reference, schedule and results. You click just to see if the Knicks were playing any time around that date on April 23rd, 2024. And you can see on that date in the Knicks schedule, April 22nd, they beat the Philadelphia 76ers in an extremely dramatic game at the Garden.
So I just got to jump in here to point out that this game at Madison Square Garden happened 5 days after Jontay Porter got banned for life from the NBA, which means that it also happened while the feds were actively investigating Amar Awade, who was standing right there, courtside, for his role in that same historic gambling scandal. And now, when you pull multiple angles on this specific play, what you can clearly see in retrospect is the identity of the tall black dude in all yellow, the same one Amar Awade is dapping up in his Facebook banner photo after arguably the greatest play in modern Knicks history. Because, of course,
it's Moose's GOAT, Carmelo Anthony. Amazing.
He looks jubilant. It looks like he's the happiest day of his... I mean, look, all of which reminded us of something we had found pretty early on in our search for any tweet that had tagged Moose_NBA. We had found an angle of this play, of the three, from the baseline shot off a cell phone, and the video credit was, quote, courtesy Moose_NBA.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's right there. Right there on the right side of your screen. This is the thing that hit us literally as we were sitting down to tape today.
Now let's watch this same play from the Madison Square Garden camera that's looking straight out at the basket. So you can see the full baseline.
And after countless more hours of Twitter and Facebook searching, we realized something. The guy sitting next to Amar Awade, who's pictured holding his cell phone, which I can only assume is the cell phone he used to shoot the video of that Donte DiVincenzo 3, had actually identified himself on Twitter by name as the guy who taped it and sent it to Moose_NBA. And we saw this because Cell Phone Guy, it turns out, was beefing with Barstool Sports, which had aggregated the video without giving either of them credit. And by now, as a student of the Rule of Three, Tom easily recognized Cell Phone Guy. He was a third person we had noticed while combing through various Facebook albums. A person better known as Amar's brother, Omar Awade. And even though Moose denied even knowing Amar to Tom, we found more pictures of all three of these guys. Graduations, parties, weddings. We even found a video of Omar wearing a Spreewell jersey going to a Knicks game with Moose, who was wearing a Carmelo Anthony jersey that by now, all of us had seen a lot.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Omar, the newest member of Spectators. On my way to the Knicks game, you see me decked out in the Spreewell. Had to do it to him. Magic is in town. Just smoked him by 30. About to smoke him by another 30. And I'm on the way. Come roll with me.
At which point, it became clear that Moose_NBA, Twitter's Malik Beasley prophet, was more than just Facebook friends with alleged Jontay Porter co-conspirator Amar Awade. Moose was his relative, his cousin. And this is where it takes us back now to the legal documents as we try to connect all the dots here, right? So generally observing the following. In the Jontay Porter legal documents, quote, a relative of the defendant, Amar Awade, whose identity is known to me, placed a $10,000 parlay bet through Betting Company 1 on the under for player 1's three-pointers, assists, and steals. It goes on to talk about how the relative won $85,000, netting a profit of $75,000.
Sheesh. For those of you watching the visual version, Amar's name is on the paperwork for the investigation by the feds on DeJounte Porter. Once again, these guys are connecting the dots. And these fellas out of NYC, man, they really underestimated the level of investigation that they was gonna tie all this together with. Whew. The rabbit hole definitely does get deep.
And so just saying that Amar Awade, in terms of the information he was sharing, who he was bringing into the thing he was already caught up in. We don't know which family member it is. They're anonymous, according to the federal prosecutors. But family is literally mentioned in the federal investigation a number of times.
I had to follow up with Mustafa to make sure he had his story straight on this. So I asked him again.
You did not get information on Malik Beasley from Amar Awade, who is part of the Porter case?
No. Like I said, I got it off of Reddit.
Do you have that Reddit forum that you got it from that you could show me?
I could probably find it.
Yeah.
Would you be fine with me searching it and then getting it to you on Twitter?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Man, that motherfucker is not hitting you back, brother. He is not hitting you back. That is code red to, drop that number if you have to. These guys are on your heels.
All right. Let's do that, then.
Despite the preponderance of evidence from his own posts and his own brags to having a connection to someone in this, he claims zero knowledge and that he got it from Reddit.
Yeah, he said he got it from Reddit and it was public. And after I hung up with Mustafa Omar, who promised me to hit me back on Twitter and send that Reddit post that would clear him of all of this and just say, hey, they had it. It wasn't me. What happened next was I logged back into my Twitter account and I DM'd him back a reminder being like, hey, yeah, if you can just grab that Reddit post and send it back to me. Bloop. I got an error message. And that error message said message not sent, sending direct message failed. I thought my internet was down or that he turned off his DMs, but nope, guys. He had shut down his account.
Damn, I called that out perfect. Yo, when I say us New Yorkers are paranoid people, that dude shut down that account. Man, he paid it in full if he owed any money. He made sure that account could be erased from the record books. Shit, he might even send him a screenshot himself to tell him that the account is disconnected. He's out of there.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to check his Facebook profile. And guess what? That too, guys, was taken down seconds after we got off that phone. All of it gone.
The timeline has the Jontay Porter betting slip, right? This is now what Moose had posted. That was dated what, Tom?
The betting slip, if you look at it closely, it says January 22nd, 2024, okay? The game one in the Jontay Porter case came 4 days later, January 26th. So that's important here because this actually predates that game one.
Which is to say, I mean, that what we are circling here, what we've been exhaustively reporting here, actually is ostensibly an expansion of the scope that the Eastern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney's Office, had published, which started 4 days after this.
Yep, on the 26th. So the feds, the way they were investigating DeJounte Porter, they actually went through the scheduling a little bit too late because he was already fixing games before they started their investigation. So I believe it was on the 26th is where they started. And in reality, he was fixing games for a while, way before that. Again, the rabbit hole gets deep on this situation. And for those of you that are watching the visual version of this, I've included all the screenshots.
But here we have all of these connections to indicate that actually the dude who's ensnared in that thing, Amar, is connected to the dude who posted this thing from 4 days before that.
So remember, we have the betting slip January 22nd. We have game one of this inquiry with the feds on January 26th. Then 5 days later, we get a flurry of unusual betting activity on Malik Beasley's unders for his 2.5 rebounds.
Yes, and that unusual betting was also reported by a third-party company that's in collaboration with a lot of sports books. That one entity is supposed to notify everyone else on unusual sports betting. And I'm gonna add a little extra sauce on top, more than likely because everything's on an algorithm. The odds that they're gonna give you may end up looking different on your app versus someone else who's more of a novice player. Make no mistake about it, they're sharing that information.
At a sports book that flagged this to ESPN. So we have within less than 10 days, the betting slip, the first Jontay Porter game, and the Malik Beasley game. We have to note the timeline here that this January 31st game it's not like a random game in terms of the timeline of things. It puts it within basically a week.
It's all when this stuff was happening. In our example, again, of the rule of three, this is how this all was unfolding. What we've established in that timeline is that there are some things that are documented and undeniable and confirmed in terms of, yes, connecting, or at the very least, moving the dots close together. They're all conspicuously proximate to each other. And by the way, we've also been making calls about Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley's attorney, Steve Haney, Tom, he did send us a statement, right?
Here's the statement from Steve Haney. Presuming someone is guilty when they haven't been charged with the crime, let alone convicted, is a dangerous narrative. The mere allegations have caused irreparable harm to Malik's image, reputation, and career.
Now, here's another interesting dynamic at play. Malik Beasley may have a lawsuit in his hands if he is found clear of all these allegations, because the timing of the news of him being investigated, it came out right before he was about to sign, I believe it was a $42 million a year contract. So unlike Terry Rozier, who was already locked into his contract, this affected Malik Beasley's money. And this is a guy who had probably a record-breaking season when it comes to three-point shooting. Last season, he was one of the better three-point shooters in the whole league. But once again, the benefits the NBA is seeing as far as the money side to this whole gambling venture, it outweighs the negatives.
The note I want to get to at the end here, by the way, is that when it comes to, so what explains all of this, right? Our investigation continues. It does. It continues because we have reason to believe that these are not coincidences, that these are connections. We have reason to believe that when it comes to unusual betting action coming in on an under, Malik Beasley winds up hitting the over pretty hard through his level of hunger and play. But you also have Moose and Amar and this Facebook friendship and these details and these pictures courtside that we should not say what we are tempted to. This is where I should probably mention that the lawyer for Amar Awade, who is currently on house arrest, declined comment to PTFO, as did the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York, which is an entity that I now wonder about too. Because what I found out today is that our moose hunt has actually expanded the FBI's scope of the Jontay Porter scandal, the betting scandal, beyond what the government itself has been able to publicly establish, at least. And we have connected it now to the prophecy of the Malik Beasley investigation. If not Malik Beasley, noted garbage time god, himself. But maybe my biggest takeaway here, as we try to square that particular circle, concerns what it really takes to investigate a scandal like this in the age of legalized sports gambling. And legalized sports gambling is obviously everywhere now. DraftKings was the sponsor of this show for the first year and a half of our existence. They remain the major partner, and to their credit, by the way, they want to catch bad actors. They are incentivized to try and flag those suspicious bits of betting activity. That's how a lot of this stuff is being caught in real time. And yet, this age has spawned a wave of conflicting incentives and new vulnerabilities. The characters everybody needed to study this entire time were on the place that we all say we want to leave, but clearly haven't. NBA Twitter.
And NBA Twitter indeed is an interesting place. But make no mistake about it, the way the prop bets went for the Jontay Porter investigation was him actually going under what he was projected to do according to the algorithms. Let's say he was projected to get 3 rebounds. He would actually just sit out the game, say he has an injury, and leave the game early. But in the case of Malik Beasley, the analytics and data kind of expose he's the best player performing in garbage time. So that right there is kind of a red flag. So let's say he's projected to get 3 rebounds. He would go out of his way, and the footage actually shows it. He's going out of his way to grab boards, and he's playing very hard even in garbage time where his team is up 20. He did this in Minnesota, and he's done this in Detroit. So it is what it is. The rabbit hole gets deep on a lot of this information, and ironically enough, through this investigation, the feds actually opened up the date range that they were looking at from when Jontay Porter actually fixed these games. Again, there's a lot of things that's conflicting. The NBA in a major partnership with these sports books, also their media partners have huge advertising dollars coming in from these sports books. So a lot of the reporting after the initial investigations that are happening, the follow-ups are not getting the same kind of attention, and they're kind of being suppressed and squashed. But we'll see how this plays out. This is not the first, and this will definitely not be the last. But interesting enough, all this was linked to a couple of guys that were on NBA Twitter, Knicks Twitter specifically, and had randomly tweeted out who would be under investigation in the near future. I gotta say, the NBA as well as other sports leagues are just looking at the dollars rolling in and they're thinking to themselves the dollar amount might justify the few headaches that we're going to get. But it is what it is. You guys definitely hit up the link in the description below. We got a few playlists in there. We got game footage. We got more NBA stories. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.